Mamata Banerjee will face off with her former aide, now BJP leader and rival contender Suvendu Adhikari. Let me just tell you what's happened the latest. 2 days after the alleged attack, Mamata Banerjee this evening got discharged from the SSKM hospital there. The doctor said that they would have wanted to keep her for another day, although she is recovering well. But on her repeated insistence that she needs to get out and campaign, she has been officially given the discharge from the hospital. Mamata Banerjee, in fact, sought this herself. Let me tell you why this has become such a big story. First part, of course, and when you talk about the injury factor, is the face-off between the TMC and the Election Commission that's taking place. And the TMC has used this to accuse the Election Commission of taking away, the security of the Chief Minister, replacing the DGP, acting at the behest of the BJP here, and thereby compromising the security of the Chief Minister. The Election Commission yesterday had responded and said they're not going to get into these repeated insinuations, but these are completely unacceptable, the charges and the insinuations that are being made by the TMC. Now, so that battle really goes on. Today, a second delegation again met the Election Commission from the TMC, and I'm going to tell you the details in just a bit of what they actually had to say. The other, of course, which will get played out perhaps for several more days, is the sympathy card. We've seen enough images now of Mamata Banerjee with that plaster. We don't know when she starts campaigning immediately how much she will be able to walk. Will she be in a wheelchair? She made it very clear in the first video message that she released that even if she has to get out there on a wheelchair, she is going to go out and reach out to the people and campaign. Now think about that imagery, and if that's really going to work with the people, bring in some more sympathy votes for her. Though some of the experts say that because of the very fast-paced news cycle and this incident having taken place so much before the actual polling day, maybe it will not have such a big impact. It remains to be seen whether or not it will have an impact, and if she is able to really, pull out people's emotions and convert them into votes. What is very definite is the TMC's charge. Here is what they have said in the second letter to the Election Commission. The attack was premeditated, that this is a part of a deep-rooted conspiracy. First, you remove the ex-DGP without consulting the state or the state government. And that they were even pointed out to Dilip Ghosh, BJP leader Dilip Ghosh's one Facebook post that kind of hinted at an attack at Mamata Banerjee. So the TMC letter actually says that the BJP leader's post indicates that there was a grave plan. The local cops were absent from the scene of the incident. There was no local cop present there when this alleged attack really took place. That Mamata's car didn't hit any iron pillar as is being alleged, and some of the reports that have been doing the rounds have been saying that that also has been countered. They've even gone to the extent of countering some of the witnesses and the eyewitnesses that have been doing the rounds, saying, well, these eyewitnesses are actually Suvendu Adhikari's aides, so you can't really take their testimony on face value of what really happened. At the end of the day, viewers, it boils down to, is there visual evidence of what really happened? That's what the BJP is asking as well. Release the visual evidence. When a candidate goes to file their nomination papers, there's usually a lot of video recording that takes place. Look into that and make it public. So tonight, we're going to ask, which way is this going to go? And can EC really have a role to play now? Can EC investigate, find out what really went wrong? Will they be able to answer the questions about what happened to Mamata Banerjee's security? How did this take place to begin with? Let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining us on this conversation. Here's Krishnamurthy, former CEC, with us this evening. Shoaib Daniyal, Senior Associate Editor with Scroll, joins us this evening. Suparna Moitra, spokesperson for the TMC. Charu Pragya of the BJP will be joining me shortly. But let me first go across to Mr. Krishnamurthy, because Mr. Krishnamurthy, as it is often when, it's a very, very close battle and politics heats up, several allegations are made against the EC and fingers are pointed against the EC. Now, what possibly can the poll panel do in the current situation?
So, first of all, the Election Commission has been used to such allegations by many political parties. This is not the first time that a complaint has been registered against the Election Commission itself. But unfortunately, the political parties, even after 73 years of independence and more than 70 years of electoral democracy, they don't realize the maturity that they have to display during this election time. Now, for example, the Election Commission has to function within the responsibility assigned to it in the Constitution of India and the Representation of People's Act and the Model Code of Conduct approved by the Supreme Court of India. Now, as far as the security of the state is concerned, or say law and order of the state is concerned, it is certainly not the concern of the Election Commission. The Election Commission is limited its role, law and order, only relating to the electoral battle, electoral conduct of the elections. Now, if individual candidates, their security, their law and order conditions, they ought to be looked after by the state police. There is no doubt whatsoever. I do not know the full facts of the case because I believe they are still being ascertained and probably the Election Commission will be examining it. But I do not think the Election Commission has any responsibility as far as the law and order. This is the legal position. Now, in this case, what happened, I do not know. Those facts will have to be ascertained. But only in relation to the conduct of the elections, Election Commission has control over the police, not with regard to the law and order.
So in such a scenario, say for example, right now when Mamata Banerjee went there to file her nominations and then she campaigned around that area, and the allegation is, well, the police went missing. Would that control be under the Election Commission, Mr. Krishnamurthy, or it's currently still a state government's responsibility?
Let me make it very clear. The deployment of the local police is still within the control of the state government. Only in regard to the electoral issues, the Election Commission has control. That's why they have central paramilitary forces. Now, as far as the security or the absence of the security, I think the local police should take full responsibility for that. I have no doubts whatsoever on that. But the most important thing is is there a model code of conduct violation in this? I do not know. We have to see whether there is any model code of conduct violations in respect of this particular accident. Did the political party members participate in this assault or attack or whatever it is? But there is, as far as whatever I have seen on the TV, I do not find any political overtone to this, unless and until, of course, the inquiry brings more details about who are responsible and so on. Unless that is available, you cannot come to a judgment. But Election Commission cannot be held responsible for any deviation from the law and order maintenance in the state.
Okay, so let me then, thank you for that clarification. Let me then go across to Shaparno Moitra and ask you this question. Then why is it that the TMC makes it sound as if, well, it's all Election Commission's fault, you transferred a DGP without consulting us, and look what happened. Clearly, the police and the control of law and order is still under Mamata's government.
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening to the respected panelists in the show and the viewers watching this program. There are the Chief Minister of Bengal, who happens to be the Supremo of the Trinamool Congress, suffered an injury only 2 days back in Nandigram. She had to be brought back to Kolkata, and today in the evening she was released after the doctors allowed her to go home. We have complained to the EC that we feel that there could be a possibility of a conspiracy, and we have requested the EC to look into it. The EC in turn had asked the state administration to file its report, the deadline of which ended today at 1700 hours. We await the report of the same. We are only saying that the law and order of the state, both what is within the EC's purview and what is within the state's purview, we are not getting into the technicalities of the case. The case is here that she got badly hurt, and we feel there's a conspiracy. The Mamata Banerjee has never mentioned any political party behind this. She has only said that she suffered an injury and there was a commotion. 4 or 5 people came very close to her. So the matter of concern is how there could be a security breach, and this matter needs to be investigated properly. So our position is that, ma'am.
No, what I am trying to understand, and they, forgive me if I missed that part because there was a bit of an audio issue in between, is how is it the Election Commission's fault? The state police is still under the state government. The Chief Minister is heavily protected with the large number of police personnel present there. Now, in that crowd, if somebody managed to come in, intentionally push or accidentally push the Chief Minister, how is that the responsibility of the Election Commission?
See, wherever a person of such stature is visiting a place, it's important that that person enjoys the protection. Now, leave EC aside. I'm talking about the protection per se. So there has been a breach, and we also feel that there could be a conspiracy. We have, as a party, we have not named any political party behind this, and we have only approached the Election Commission to ensure that what is within their purview, they should do that, and what is within the purview of the state as far as the protection is concerned, we'll have to see it from our end as well. So the investigations are on, and I'm sure that such a security breach would not happen in the future, ma'am.
Okay, let me bring in our other panelists as well and show it to you as this war of words really goes on. It's clear that the security is still the responsibility of the state. Now, while yes, the state DGP was removed as a decision by the Election Commission, will it be fair really to make the connection to say just because the DGP is gone, the complete security apparatus is in shambles?
I think really this incident is a sort of symbol of just how fractious of politics is now. Even something as simple as the role of the EC now is under a cloud. So, as Mr. Krishnamurthy said, that police is not under the EC's control. On the other hand, we also have an opinion by Dr. S.Y. Qureshi, who's also a former CEC, saying that, and I quote, that state government has no control over the police once elections are announced. Every policeman from DGP to the last constable stands transferred to the Election Commission. In fact, the cops who were in charge of the Chief Minister's security have been recommended for penal action by the Election Commission, not the state government in this case. So we're seeing this sort of extremely ugly and extremely fractious politics. Remember, the Election Commission is something that is responsible for India's democracy. It's extremely important that every party respects the role of the Election Commission. And if you actually read the Trinamool's letter, it's actually raised some extremely grave charges against the Election Commission. And we'll have to see how the debate goes, because we're just starting the campaign. There are 2 more months of campaigning left, and if this is the way things go, then it's going to be an extremely difficult campaign when it's going to be conducted.
Okay, let me actually bring in Mr. Krishnamurthy here. Mr. Krishnamurthy, there seems to be some difference of opinion on at what point does the responsibility of the Election Commission kick in? Is it from the day of filing of nomination or simply on polling day, or from the date of the announcement of the elections then?
I am not sure whether Mr. Qureshi has said that every policeman stands transferred to the Election Commission. I do not think that position is correct, and I am sure Mr. Qureshi would not have said this, because we know very well the Supreme Court has clearly laid out our role in this regard, saying that insofar as it relates to the conduct of the elections, the officials of the state government will have to comply with the directions of the Election Commission. It doesn't say that every policeman deployment or every policeman's law and order role is under the control of the Election Commission. I'm afraid he has been wrongly quoted, but anyhow, if he has said so, it is not the correct position. The position is that every government official, insofar as it relates to the conduct of the elections, he will be guided by the instructions of the Election Commission. Security of individual politicians is certainly not within the purview of the Election Commission of India.
Okay, so that maybe it's the difference of interpretation of what you're saying and what Mr. Qureshi said. At the end of the day, any which is when it comes to the Chief Minister, I don't think the police would have just simply vanished at the instructions of the Election Commission. If you look at the visuals, and I repeatedly have been saying this for the last couple of days, if you look at the visuals, there is so much crowd. She's standing at the door as the car is moving, and she's greeting all of the supporters who've thronged in large numbers. She moves around there, and suddenly there's just too much of a crowd around her. At that point of time, her immediate security personnel should have ensured that these people are not allowed to come this close, especially when she's standing right at the door with the door open, and that's when the door actually at some point probably slammed and she got injured. Charu Pragya joins us as well on this conversation. Charu Pragya, let me ask you what the TMC is alleging, that this was pre-planned. Dilip Ghosh put up a Facebook post that insinuated that there could be an attack on Mamata Banerjee, and all of this is being done, even the EC's actions are at the behest of the BJP.
Tanvi, good evening. I'm apologizing for joining you late. When a political leader campaigns, or when a political leader is in the middle of a rally or filing nominations, there's bound to be a crowd. And when there is a crowd, you either choose to surround yourself with the circle of your security men and stay between that circle, or if you let that circle move away from you, you're always going to be at risk of people pushing too close to you. Not always with the intention of hurting you, sometimes with the intention of coming close to you, and accidents can happen. In this case, this is exactly what has happened. Numerous times we have seen the video footage of that exact incident, that exact moment, and repeatedly seeing it also ensures that there is nothing untoward that happened that day. Mamta Didi was not inside the car. I would like to advise her, either stand outside the car and talk to your supporters, or sit inside, close the door, pull the window down and then speak to them. Why are you getting into this blame game? First calling it a conspiracy, then turning around and kind of nearly taking your statement back. At the end of the day, an accident is an accident and it should be left at that. I don't think this is a time for her to be politicizing it, because the people of Bengal are very intelligent, they are very intellectual, and they're not going to fall for small gimmicks like this one. Also, this entire debate about the EC, well, investigations are on, but the police from Bengal has already submitted a report to the election saying this was no attack, it was an accident. And it should be taken at face value and taken to be exactly that. Also, it's not kind to cast aspirations on an independent body like the Election Commission, who has been instrumental in conducting countless elections across the country flawlessly, from the local level all the way up to the national elections. In fact, you should be thanking the Election Commission. They are the ones who made sure democracy remains the way it does in this country.
Well, I know you've quoted the police report that some others have quoted, though it's not been confirmed, that was submitted to the local election officials, election commission officials, on what really went on. But at this point, honestly, the election commission officially has not given a decision on whether this was an attack or this was an accident. In fact, there have been other source-based reports that also our channel has not picked up, because there is no individual confirmation. 1 minute, let me just clarify this, Charu Pragya. There are other reports that, if you want me to quote, actually go on to say that yes, it definitely looks like a lapse of on part of the security personnel. There is no point into getting into it until there is an official confirmation and decision from the election commission. Yes, Charu.
Thank you. So what I want to say is that even if the election commission is in charge of the elections or the law and order situation in the state during elections, somebody's personal security comes to them and stays with them for long periods of time. She's not the only VIP in India. I understand how VIP security works. Everybody is trained. Everybody is used to being with that particular VIP for long periods of time. And you cannot be pointing fingers at the entire police force, at the election commission for a lapse of security which is done by her people, which have probably been surrounding her for God knows how many past events. And if you would check with Mamata Didi and her close officers, it would be the same security men which have been accompanying her everywhere. Didi writes
Okay, Mr.
security men. Why is
Yeah,
she not
fair,
accompanied with
fair
security?
point, fair point, fair point, fair point. Quick response from Suparna Moitra on that. Fair point. Yes, Mr. Moitra.
Ma'am, before I respond, I must thank you for putting the things in perspective, that nobody has any idea about the report which has been submitted. So it will be premature to talk about that. So I would like to thank you on that, one. Second, as I would completely agree with the spokesperson of BJP when she said that the people of Bengal are intelligent, they're reasonable, they're logical. And to consider Mamata Banerjee is completely illogical, completely out of mind, that she's going to fake it, she's going to resort to theatrics and drama, is something which is also not right, ma'am, I would say that. And the local leadership of BJP has been using such a narrative, one. And I'm surprised, ma'am, the Union Minister of Railways, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, also made a statement only day before yesterday that Didi is so baffled and she's losing the ground, she's losing her ground, and that is why she had to resort to that. I think he could have spared him this sort of a statement. I would only say that, ma'am.
Can I respond?
Well, I think there's been a bit of a contradiction in comments that have come in from the BJP as well. In the initial round, they all, there were many leaders who said, well, this is all drama and political drama because she's scared and she's losing. Now the BJP has gone ahead and said, okay, let's investigate. Show us the videos. Show us what evidence is available. And that's actually something that I wanted to ask Mr. Krishnamurthy. Mr. Krishnamurthy, now there are, the special observers who are on ground who will obviously be asked about it. They will speak to then the State Election Commission officials and perhaps a report will be submitted. That is my understanding of the process. How can EC now go about finding out what really happened on ground? Is it even fair to expect that we will find out the truth now?
No, see, as far as the Election Commission is concerned, it has to meet the charges made against it that the law and order has not been properly done by the Election Commission. So it can only verify surrounding the circumstances, and they have to find out whether there is any proof in the allegation that it was a predetermined conspiracy. If it was a predetermined conspiracy, you have to find out whether there is any violation of the code of conduct, whether any punishment is to be given under the IPC. So these are all details of facts which the Election Commission has to go through. But what I wish to emphasize is, it is not concerned with the security of the candidates contesting the election, including the Chief Minister. That's the responsibility of the state government.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I just want to very quickly also move on to the second aspect, which is the political side. And Shoaib, let's begin with you. We may not find out whether this was an accident or an attack, but how will this play out on ground, especially in Nandigram, if Mamata Banerjee lands up there in the next couple of days with a plaster or in a wheelchair to campaign, does it help, reach out and the voters and perhaps, play to their emotions?
Mentioned a couple of minutes back, Tanvi, is very important that the BJP itself has struggled to enunciate a response to what has happened in this incident. So the BJP actually started off by mocking this incident, but right now it has come to a space where it's saying that actually it was maybe some unidentified persons in the crowd who accidentally pushed Mamata Banerjee. So this is where you're seeing where even the BJP right now is wary of what the sort of the image of what Mamata Banerjee in a cast in a wheelchair will have. On the other hand, the Trinamool is also equally aware of the gains that it might make from these sort of images. So as you've seen over the past couple of days, you've had a number of images, you've had a number of videos, you've had a number of visuals from Ms. Banerjee when she was in hospital, in PG hospital in Calcutta, which is Calcutta's main state-aided hospital. You had visuals today of Ms. Banerjee in on a wheelchair. You know, Trinamool people on Trinamool have been pushing out messages saying if she wants to if she has to campaign, she'll campaign in the wheelchair. So this will be like a classic Indian sort of I mean, the Trinamool will try and have a classic Indian sympathy campaign around it. This would have been really easy, say 5 years back when Mamata was really unchallenged in West Bengal. But over the last 5 years, we've seen the BJP actually go on to directly attack Mamata, something it would not do maybe a couple of years back, but it is doing it right now. So Mamata is also in a weak position, and we'll see how it plays out. But you can see that even the BJP right now is a bit wary of attacking Mamata directly on this. In fact, ironically, the Congress has attacked Mamata much more sharply. Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, the president, has actually called it a siyasi
Yes.
pakhand, which is an interesting thing to see. So it's we as observers can just see where this politics goes.
Yes, in fact, that was very interesting. The extremely sharp attack that we've actually seen from the Congress party as well. Yes, Charu, Pragya, go ahead, please.
First of all, nobody is going to be callous enough to actually say that a lady who's hurt herself in an accident is shouldn't be wished well, and we shouldn't hope for her to recover. But that does not mean that I'm not casting aspirations on the way she behaved on the day it actually happened. Why is she so quick to jump to conclusions? Why is she so quick to say there was a conspiracy against me and then it entirely came together in such an easy way? There are actually posts on the internet which go on to show the way her plaster is put in place is at a wrong angle. A lot of orthopedics are discussing that. So let's not get into that. But the fact is, if a senior lady is hurt,
Oh my God, this is a.
You must have seen those posts, Tanvi.
I mean, this is Sushant rerun all over again, and I think some of us really don't learn our lessons. Why? Why cast aspersions? Again, the same thing. Why cast aspersions? Why did your leaders in the beginning say, "Oh, this is just a political ploy to play and playing"? She's playing the victim card to get the votes.
First of all, Tanvi, the most important thing to remember is reaction comes from the way she acted. When immediately she stands up and says there is a conspiracy against me and somebody is behind me, obviously there is no conspiracy. You're in the middle of a crowd, somebody pushes the door, you get hurt. It's as simple as that. So when you're going to call it a conspiracy, get hurt, and then say people are behind me, well, what is it if not a political ploy? If she's hurt, yes, we wish her well. Please recover very soon, and I hope you're back on your feet. She went back on the conspiracy word because she understood.
Okay, Mr. Moitra should respond to this. Yes, Mr. Moitra, please respond to this. The BJP's turnaround comment. Well, let me get a response. BJP's turnaround comment that this is just drama is actually because you made it dramatic and you called it a conspiracy.
Ma'am, I'm not a qualified doctor. I'm an economist. I'm not a doctor. So I possibly can't comment on the way the plasters were put. But I would have a only simple suggestion for them that possibly it's time that they could use the plaster as a leucoplast, and it's time for them to take a break for some time.
So why don't you respond to the way your Honorable Chief Minister reacted after the accident? Why don't you address that first? Did she or did she not call it a conspiracy? Why was
Would
she
have
so
been by anybody, Charu, Pragya, including the left, the Congress, the ISF?
No. So we are again, I'm reiterating,
Yes, Mr. Moitra.
we have never blamed the Bharatiya Janata Party or any political party. We have not blamed any political, Didi has not blamed Bharatiya Janata Party or any political party. So for the BJP to be getting hyper and commenting like this about faking, theatrics and drama, I think they have been extremely premature in the reactions.
Sir, did the Chief Minister call it a conspiracy?
Well, completely
or not?
out of time. But to your question, Charu, Mamata Banerjee by nature now, perhaps because of the fact that for many years she's fought against, the left rule. She's come from the grassroots and really been that kind of an on-ground leader, has been extremely paranoid. And this whole conspiracy charge is not new. This has happened repeatedly from when journalists asked her questions earlier to when she held press conferences and she thought the left had infiltrated the press conference and sent its people to target her. That being said, that's the job of a politician to turn around and say, oh, this is a conspiracy. The fact is that she is injured. We don't know if we will ever find out if it was an accident or a planned attack. But for sure, what is clear is that TMC and Mamata Banerjee are now going to use this injury to the fullest when it comes to political points. To what extent will it help her in Nandigram and rest of West Bengal remains to be seen. She's not going to stop at this. From everything, including the series of visits that she's made to many temples in the last few days, she is going all out to get the votes, to get the people to side with Bengal's Beti as she takes on the outsiders BJP. We'll keep a close eye on how this unfolds and if the Election Commission comes out with a decision on what really happened there. Thank you to all of our panelists for joining us on this conversation.